All right, we'll call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs amended agenda, regular meeting of the City Council, and City Council serving as the successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. It's our 4:30 p.m. closed session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Present.
Councilmember Nunez.
He will be calling in.
Mayor Pro Tem Pai.
Present.
And Mayor Mattis.
Present. I don't see anybody in the audience. Do we have any public comments?
No, we do not.
All right. Mr. City Attorney, would you announce the closed session?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have two items on closed session for tonight. The first one is conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. This is pursuant to section 54956.9 of the government code. And the case is Paula Terifaj versus City of Desert Hot Springs. The second matter concerns conference with legal counsel anticipated litigation. This deals with two potential cases.
Thank you very much.
What are the, excuse me, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
are we required to state what the potential cases
I
are?
will leave that to the attorney.
These two matters concern potential exposure to litigation, so the details should be discussed in closed session.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, but I just thought the title should at least give the public some idea of what the item is about. And they couldn't possibly make any public comment on these if they have no clue as to what we're going to be talking about.
All right, we'll recess. Good afternoon, everybody. It is 5:15. We're going to come back to order for our presentation period. We have two presentations today, but first we're going to start with one that's pretty awesome. After 900 years with the water, I'm sorry, 22 years or 21? 22 years with the Water District. Carol, would you join me up here real quick? Carol Morin is a fixture here in our community for the last 21 years, probably longer than that, but come on over here. Get closer. I got a microphone for you to sing into. You know, when Russ comes from the Water District, he's just boring, doesn't do anything, he just sits there. You bring Carol and you got the whole crew and everything's fun. So Carol spent 22 years with the Mission Springs Water District, and why I wanted to recognize her as the mayor of the City of Desert Hot Springs is she brought a lot to the table, not only working for our local water agency, but she was out there every Little League season collecting money, putting up banners. I think you even might have coached a team at one time, or Team Mom. Yeah, I did all those volunteer spots, and she's been a true advocate for our community, and I just wanted to say thank you. We had a kind of a secret little retirement party for her, and I was going to join it, but it got mixed up with some times, and then we were going to do this at another time, and you got a little ill, but now we're here finally. We got you here even though you've already left and gone home for retirement. We just wanted to say thank you from the City of Desert Hot Springs for all your years of service and your 22 years of dedication to Mission Springs Water District in our city.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
You want to say?
You want to take a picture?
You want to say something? You want to say something?
Well, let's take a picture
Okay.
first. Get over.
She's been doing it so long, she knows to direct to take the picture. Scott, I think you just let her run the show. She knows what to do.
Might be some future in politics.
No.
Well, that was too quick.
No. Like I say, I'm not a speaker, but I just want to say thank you so much. I love the city, and I love MSWD, and hopefully I'll still continue volunteering after a year or so. Let me enjoy and do some traveling first, but then after maybe I will. I enjoy being with the kids, so Little League. That was my grandkids. They're a little past that age already, but hopefully, I'll still get involved. But thank you, and I miss you guys. And but like I said, I live here, so I will still be bringing you banana bread and maybe the city. No, I don't think I've introduced you to the banana bread. So, but well, thank you guys for coming. And what are we doing after? No, not really.
Come back here.
No.
Take a picture with the city.
Just kidding. All right, thanks so much. All righty,
Be safe.
thank you.
And I
I've seen your name on so many emails.
Oh, yeah.
I just had one thing to say. I just have one thing to say. You truly know how to do an awesome party.
All right, we got another exciting update on Indian Canyon Drive. We have Tom Kirk, who's the executive director for the Coachella Valley Association of Governments. At one of our last meetings, one of our council members requested maybe an update. We've had, obviously, it's one of the biggest requests we get from the city of Desert Hot Springs is to open Indian Canyon in Palm Springs, so people can get over there for medical services and retail services. So I thought it was good to give an update. I've tried to give as many updates as I can over the last couple of years on our progress and our partnership with the city of Palm Springs and CVAG, but Tom's here to do that for us today.
Mayor, I am going to give you a little update, and turn on. Oh, there you go. On. I turn it on? Yeah. Mayor, I'm here because you told me to be here. You're chair of CVAG.
I did.
And it's rare that I get to say chairs, but of course we have the chair of CVCC as well. And it's good to see the two of you as well. It's always great to come up to Desert Hot Springs. And I am going to go check out a couple of low water crossings that have been recently built. And congratulations on the city for getting those done as quickly as you did. And for those in our business, right, Joel? Turning projects like that around as quickly as you did is really a Herculean task. And so your public works team deserves a lot of credit, and the cooperation you've gotten from the county and other agencies needs to be applauded as well. So, Indian, I'm here, but I'm also flanked by Joel Montalvo. It's Montalvo, right? Sorry, Joel. And he's the director of engineering for the city of Palm Springs. And when you start getting into technical questions, I'll probably turn to Joel to help me out. But what I thought I would do in the little bit of time we have is give you a little bit of background, if that's okay. And I know the four of you have it, and certainly your staff does. But if you do have residents and others that are watching right now, they may not know, well, you know, why is Desert Hot Springs talking about Indian? Or why doesn't Desert Hot Springs fix Indian? And of course, you all know the former and the latter, the answers to those questions, but many folks may not. So I'll give you a little bit of background, not for your benefit, but those watching and listening, and also a very quick update on funding. There's a lot of good news on the funding front, and then an update on the project itself. When is it going to get done? When are we going to stop having closures on Indian Avenue? On the deep background, you might remember, and I know the mayor does, Valentine's Day storms. What was it, 5 years ago now, maybe 6? What was it? 2019, 5 years ago. Those Valentine's Day storms were a wake-up call for the western Coachella Valley. We had massive closures, and we thought those 1 in 100-year storms would only happen once in 100 years. But of course, 1 in 100-year storms seem to be happening more often. When those 1 in 100-year storms did happen 5 years ago, our chair of our transportation committee, Mayor Mattis, led an effort at CVAG for CVAG to really be engaged in looking at solutions for the western Coachella Valley in Cathedral City, in Desert Hot Springs, in unincorporated county, and in Palm Springs. We undertook a study looking at 20 crossings of various streams and rivers and prioritized them. And one of my favorite parts of this story, because it applies to CVAG at large, is talking about how this region prioritizes projects. And the fact that I went to the city council here, and the city council in Palm Springs, and the city council in Cathedral City, gave them 20 projects throughout those 3 cities and said, which one is your highest priority? All 3 councils said Indian Canyon. And we kind of take it for granted, and of course it's a high priority because 70% of the drivers on Indian Canyon come from Desert Hot Springs and the surrounding area. And getting to the hospital is critical, and getting to work and school is critical. But there are very few places in the state of California I go to where a city council in one place says their highest priority to spend money, including money generated in Desert Hot Springs, by the way, right, Frank? Is outside of the city of Desert Hot Springs. It's in Palm Springs. Of course, that's why Joelle's here as well. So you all made that one of our highest priorities. We took that on, we hired MBI, a major consultancy, and they started the design work at that time. And at that time, we were kind of thinking, let's do something on Indian that's modest. Let's do it, may I say it, on the cheap. Let's get by with making this a project that gets by 90% of the time on storm events. And then another little event occurred. Tropical Storm Hillary, which felt more like a hurricane here, didn't it? And Tropical Storm Hillary changed our assumptions about how much water is going to be coming into the Coachella Valley, particularly this part of the Coachella Valley in the future. These 1 in 100-year storms are no longer 1 in 100-year storms, they're 1 in every 5 years. These major events that we would assume would rarely happen are happening more often, and I believe they're happening because of climate change. You don't have to believe in it, but I believe it's happening in part because of climate change. These events are happening, and let's take a look at Indian. We need a bigger, more complicated fix. So we hired MBI, we tasked them to provide us with a 99% solution, not just a 90% solution, and they are underway. In terms of where they are in the process, we're still about 1 year away from finishing the environmental compliance, and the environmental compliance is a little complicated. We've got something called the Whitewater River Plain there that our other agency manages, the Coachella Valley Conservation Commission. Fortunately, the right-of-way is 99.5% in. The right-of-way needed is already in Palm Springs right-of-way possession. There's a little twist to that at the south end of the project, but all in all, we don't have major right-of-way acquisitions, and we don't have major environmental problems because of the multiple species plan. That said, we do have to deal with a massive floodplain, a floodplain that carries, Russ, I'm going to speak water, Russ. Russ? I'm speaking water. And that part of the presentation is the Whitewater floodplain could carry 45,000 cubic feet per second. It is, when water goes down that floodplain, there's a lot of it and it moves around. And that's a complicated part of this project, is building a bridge, not a 1.5 mile bridge, but a bridge where you hope the water is going to be flowing for the next many decades. And in fact, we're planning on building 2 bridges. So design is underway. The environmental work will be done in a year. Construction is scheduled to start in 2.5 years, and construction itself will take 18 months. The construction will pair up with the work that is consuming Joel's time right now, part of his time right now, and that is the bridge construction over the railroad tracks. And trust me, I'm sure your constituents are confused. Oh, Indian Canyon's getting fixed. Well, isn't it under construction now? That's one project over the railroad tracks, and then we're going to link that project south to the southern dike on the Whitewater River floodplain with 2 bridge structures. So the idea is to bring most of that water under both of those structures. So well underway. The work started a couple years ago, environmental done in a year, construction in 2.5 years. Where are we with the funding? My best guess on the construction cost of this project is something over $100 million. It's a lot of money. And the good news is we've now secured over half of that price tag anyway. I think last time I was here, I had the good news that CVAG, in partnership with Desert Hot Springs and Palm Springs in particular, secured $50 million from the state of California to build the project. And when we secured that, we secured it out of a fund of $300 million statewide, and we were the #1 ranked project along with Paradise, California, which you might remember burnt down and needed a project to address some of their tragic issues there. So we got the most money, and we're the #1 ranked project. And just 2 days ago, I found out, and I want to pass this along to your SCAG representative, if you haven't already heard about it, that $7.5 million, $7.6 million, I believe, is being recommended from SCAG, from federal funding sources, to go to the project as well. That was a competition as well, and we competed well, and Sunline Transit also received $5 million, which is fantastic news for Sunline Transit. So we have now secured close to $60 million of outside funding, and we're not done. I plan on securing as much federal and state funding as possible to make the project happen. And the mayor asked me earlier, well, what if we don't? We're going to build that project, Mayor, and we're going to fund that project. We're going to fund it through regional and local sources to the degree we have to, but my objective is to acquire as much state and federal funding as possible. That's the end of my update. I do want to make again, a plug for your mayor's efforts, but all of your efforts to say a project outside of your city is a high priority. I also want to make a plug for somebody who's not here, and that is Lisa Middleton and the rest of that council for making it a priority within the city of Palm Springs. As Joel is very well aware, they've got a long list of priorities as well. But I'll bet you, if you're a retired person sitting on Palm Canyon having a coffee that lives and may be retired or even work in Palm Springs, Indian Canyon may not be your highest priority. If you really thought about it and thought, well, but who's serving my coffee? Or who's the nurse at the hospital? It should be one of your highest priorities. But politically, it may not have been their highest priority. Lisa Middleton, in my opinion, Joelle, please pass this along if you can. Lisa, with Scott's partnership with her and with the city and your partnership with the city has really changed that equation. They've made the Indian Canyon a priority. And between the two of them, they've also done something, I think I was hoodwinked. CVAG, for the first time in its history, is taking on not just funding, helping fund a project, but what we call deliver. Build a project that's entirely in one city. We've done CV Link, we've done CV Sync, but somehow your mayor convinced Tom Kirk to take on a project that's entirely in one city. And Joelle might be happy about that too at times. Sometimes. With that, I'd be happy to address any questions or comments you might have.
And I just wanted to say real quick, Lisa Middleton, she didn't show up to transportation because she was sick yesterday, transportation committee, and she's sick again today, and she doesn't miss a meeting. So we wish her the best, to get well soon, and she'll be available to anyone that wants to ask questions on our partnership in the future. She was not long after she was elected. Her and I had a conversation, and she comes up here to Desert Hot Springs quite a bit. She has family up here, and we talked a lot about that roadway and things we can do. So again, thank you, Tom, for all your help on this. Thank you to the City of Palm Springs. And I'll open it up, Mr. Gardner.
And you know, after you have questions about Indian, maybe I can give you a short update on Varner Road.
Yes.
And other crossings in Desert Hot Springs.
Cool. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll echo your comments about Ms. Middleton. I talked to her yesterday morning, and yeah, she was not at all well, and that's not like Lisa. And you know, talking about partnerships, we worked very closely back during that 2019 flood for our changeable message signs. Thank you, Mr. Kirk and CVAG, for getting us the money for those too, because that was really ties in a lot with all of this. I think every member of this council over the last couple of days has gotten more than a handful of texts or calls about when the Indian is opening now. So the first question, I mean, I know Palm Springs issued out a press release yesterday. They're saying, now you're saying Thursday. Is that still the target for getting Indian open again?
So from what I understand, and all our teams are working out there to remove the sand, Thursday is the goal to get it open. I'll touch a little bit on what's going on. The construction on Indian Canyon is also being interrupted by the sand. So I have a construction crew that has a certain area, and then the city crews have the other area. So in conjunction, we're working together. One crew takes on one portion of Indian, and our construction crew takes care of the area within. So I don't know if anybody's seen photos, but there's 2 cars that are currently underneath the sand, completely buried. So we have to deal with that, get rid of them safely, and then clear up the road. So there are lots of challenges. So if the wind picks up, then the timelines change. So the goal has been and will be to open up Indian on Thursday.
And just for our constituents who are watching, the concerned construction project now is widening the bridge over the Union Pacific from 2 to 4 lanes, correct?
Yep.
And so then what you're seeing that's being constructed there is I guess you would say the downhill side, if you're heading southbound after crossing the railroad track, is where the bulk of that sand that we're seeing in pictures is piled up against. So maybe this is a question, for either one of you. That project was funded and started moons ago. 5-6 years ago, right? So, and it is just now getting built. In the meantime,
20 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to chime in. It started in 2001.
when we did the overpasses, right?
Yeah.
So now we've got this other bridge coming to the south of it. This was designed and built without this piece being in the picture. So I had one constituent ask me today, so I'm certainly hoping they're engineering it now so that they meet and we don't have to undo this one to do this one.
Well, one's
So-
over here, one's over here, they're not even gonna connect, so they'll have to.
Yeah, so I guess I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning, and I'll correct that. I'm Joel Montalvo. I'm the city engineer for Palm Springs. The one thing you can tell your constituent is, because I am the city engineer, I'm involved in both projects. CVAG is taking the lead, but they're working in my city, so everything that's happening on that project is actually I'm gonna be involved in it, or my staff directly. So we are sharing. I am basically the go-between between both teams. I've already had them talk to each other, share information, so you can rest assured that the project will meet and they won't be offset, and they are taking that into consideration. And the future design and the current design as well. I've already changed and removed a lot of excessive costs that we're going to save that would be removed and demoed with the second project. So my eyes are on both projects, and with that, I can, at least from my perspective, tell you that I'm guaranteeing that those 2 projects will work together.
And I appreciate that, and I'm sure our residents do that are watching this or will watch it at a later time. And I hope that the evidence that we're giving them as part of your presentations today will show, because one of the other things we get, Palm Springs doesn't give a rat's patootie about Desert Hot Springs, and that's why they're not opening it up. And I want to ensure our constituents that is not the case. And this council and the Palm Springs Council are both very concerned about it and are doing everything we can to make sure that that is open and stays open when possible, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're absolutely correct.
So, thank you for that.
Mr. Spitz?
Yeah, way before I was on the council, the overpasses got started, and former Mayor Wyuker campaigned standing down there in that traffic jam at Palm and the I-10, promising to get those overpasses done. And then, there's a whole lot of people across the valley who got that done. And then you got the railroad bridge was part of that. And we got the overpasses done. We've been enjoying them, and we've been patiently waiting for the bridge, knowing that it's coming along. It was really nice to see that get started. And then all this other mess comes along. And but it's really nice to hear the effort and the progress being made. And I think the time frame on this is a little shorter. I don't think we're looking at 20 years down the road. I see it in Tom's eye that this one's moving. Yeah, I see the determination there and really appreciate your efforts. I'm curious, how's the overpass going to mitigate the closures? You have closures now because of blowing sand and visibility. If you're from back east, except for stripping the paint off your car, which isn't like snow, I mean, I've driven where I couldn't see past the inside of my windshield and nobody closed the road. Is this bridge going to prevent those closures for blowing dust? Because we're getting as many of those as we are for water, right?
Yeah, no, and Joelle and I, trust me, we don't want to spend $100 million or whatever it ends up being and have a road closure the next day, but it is possible. We are looking at, along with the city of Palm Springs, we're looking at, and Joel's been taking the lead on this, different structures that could deflect the wind up and over the roadway. And so if you could envision a bridge with a barrier on one side that mitigates or reduces the amount of sand blowing across it. One thing you would not have on a bridge structure is the dunes that migrate.
Or a guardrail.
What's that?
There's no guardrail where the sand's trying to cross. And my understanding is if the sand can freely cross the road, it doesn't build up. If you disturb the wind flow, it curls and builds up, and that's what I thought was happening. So maybe this bridge will do that.
Yeah, well, in a bridge, what is happening out there now is you have sand dunes move, which is what they do. So, with
Well, they'll move under the bridge now, right?
and it'll go under the bridge then. But there may be, I will guess that there will be some closures of even a bridge structure.
So I got
however
a
well
solution
designed.
for that. It's called I know I'm not an engineer, but it's an above-ground tunnel
Yeah.
that looks like a Quonset hut.
We've explored that, and of course, the armchair engineers in all of us.
I'm armchairing.
Well, and I am too. And I've got a little bit of background in this, but I'm certainly not a structural engineer. Yeah, I get a lot of comments about, well, back east or in mountainous areas, et cetera, it's kind of like snow. It blows and gets in your way and piles up. There's one difference, and that is snow melts. Sand piles up and piles up and piles up, and the load on that is pretty significant and a really different beast. We have actually looked at an above-ground tunnel, and that may be a solution here, but it's a bit more complicated than you might think. And we've actually looked at a below-ground tunnel.
I'm sure it's all super complicated. I was talking about that in jest, tongue in cheek.
I'm not. I don't want to be at the grand opening of the project and say we can't do the grand opening because the project's closed.
Yeah.
I have nightmares about that. So we are exploring every opportunity we can to solve the flood issue and the sand issue, and unfortunately, both can't be solved with one idea. And the tunnel might seem like the obvious idea, but when I mentioned that 45,000 cubic feet per second, most of that is underground. Yeah. So you build a tunnel, you're building a dam that could move with that much flow.
So the last thing I want to say is there's 61 projects that were approved up at SCAG, or that will be on Thursday. And there was 35 that weren't recommended for approval. And so that 7.5 million up there is a really good deal. And I know everybody pushed on that. So I just finish by saying thanks. You're doing a wonderful job down there. Really appreciate your efforts on behalf of the Valley.
And I do owe you a call back. We'll chat tomorrow.
Ms. Pye. Mr. Nunez.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late, Mr. Kirk. I know you don't like to make public comments, so if you want to do your presentation all over again. I'm joking. I heard I was in the back. I just have a question. Can we get our staff the rendering of what that looks like or will look like with the two bridges and what you have planned?
Yeah,
that way we can present it if we ever need to.
We have some initial renderings, but I'll tell you they're not going to be accurate until we get to further along.
And that's fine. And as long as our staff has it, that way we can make sense out of everything.
Yeah,
so.
be happy to do that.
Yeah.
I could pontificate, but I won't. I'm just going to say thank you very much, and I'm glad you can't sleep at night. That works for me.
All right.
And thank you, too.
And then you want to give a quick update on the other projects?
Quick, because these are other critical projects to your commuters, your residents, and
That's
those.
the second most important project. The city of Desert Hot Springs is Varner now.
Varner Road, we've got a number of initiatives there. A multi-city initiative in the case of Varner Road between Palm Drive and Date Palm. We also hired MBI, and the cities of Cathedral City and Desert Hot Springs are participating with CVAG's contractor on doing the design work for all of that. And we also hired MBI, same company, to refresh our look at all of the crossings in western Coachella Valley, because that damn storm, Tropical Storm Hillary, really opened our eyes to what could happen. We had no idea. We had no idea that that sort of storm could happen down Mission Creek. So we've got to take a fresh look at what's the long-term plans. You guys have done a great job on fixing things for the short to medium term. We've got to look at some long-term solutions out there too, and we're going to be working directly with you to make the priority decisions in coming months.
Any
Can I ask a
questions?
question on Varner?
Sure.
So Varner, the conversation is from like, essentially Bob Hope all the way to at least Mountain View, correct? It's not just Bob Hope to Date Palm.
No, it's even further than that. We actually have two contracts. We've got a contract from Dillon Road in Coachella all the way to Date Palm along Varner Road.
Okay, so what I'm concerned,
And we have another one that's more directly involves this city and Cathedral City from Date Palm to Palm Drive.
perfect, so that is in the works.
Yeah.
Okay, and the only other thing I got is there's the stop signs are causing so much traffic.
Yeah.
There's got to be some kind of signalization that can be put
it,
there.
It has to be, and that's a part of the design work that's underway.
Because at Edam Hill, for the sake of very few traffic, it's just a huge backup.
Yes,
And
that needs to be
I would
signalized.
love to see some temporary signalization going there, which is there for construction. They're using construction sites. I'd love to see something there to alleviate that problem. But, okay, that was my main question. It is going from Date Palm to Palm.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions? Really appreciate you both taking the time out and being here tonight. It really helps us. Not a lot of people are here during our presentation period, but we replay this and they can watch this and we can post it and help people understand the issues.
Well, Chairman, you are in charge of my, salary
I
review
am.
periodically.
I am.
When you tell me to show up,
Yes.
I do.
And I will sign your time card this week.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to recess until 6 o'clock. All right, we're going to get things started here in a second. Gerald, are you ready? Get the city council back to the dais. We're going to call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs amended agenda, regular meeting of the City Council, the City Council serving as a successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. This is our regular session for 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts,
Present?
Councilmember Gardner,
Present.
Councilmember Nunez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pai,
Present.
and Mayor Max.
Present. Today, we're honored to have Reverend James Baylard from the First Baptist Community Church. He's going to come up and do an invocation for us tonight. We put you first on the list so you don't have to hang out with us the whole night. Yeah, come on up.
Let us all pray. Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together with the City Council. Lord, we ask that you will handle the business at hand and let it be done decently and in order. And then, Lord, let these leaders continue to lead the city in a way that is pleasing in your eyesight. We thank you for their commitment, their dedication, as well as their genuine concern for the betterment of this community and the betterment of the Riverside County and the Coachella Valley all over, and the things that they do and how they do it. We thank you, Father God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen again.
Thank you, sir. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by our resident Firebird fan, Roger Nunez, who is wearing Firebird colors tonight in support.
Mr. Mayor, they're actually Lift to Rise t-shirts, but.
Oh, we went with Firebird.
Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. City Attorney, would you report on closed session, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no reportable actions.
The approval of the agenda is an approval of the agenda and the consent calendar. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on any items on our consent calendar? Those are items that are not in our regular session, items 5 through 11. I don't see anybody coming forth for the consent calendar. Is there anybody on our council that would like any items pulled? I know there is one comment. Did you want to make that comment now?
Yes. And it's just a comment. This is item number 9, approval of side letter agreement to the Memorandum of Understanding with the Desert Hot Springs Police Officers Association. And I want to thank the Police Officers Association. They are helping us with our budget, and this is proving teamwork with the council and all staff. And I just wanted to say thank you to Christian Saucier for signing the agreement.
I echo that also.
Ditto. Any other items to pull?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, item 6, cooperative agreement between County of Riverside to provide fire protection. And item 7, I didn't see a map in there that indicates where council members' properties are relative to Community Facilities District 2006-1 Improvement Area number 1.
Is number 1 the full city? Do we know, Jeffrey?
No, it's 2006, number 1 is actually Skyborn.
Okay. Can we would have the same extensions if we had one, but we wouldn't have an extension.
So there's no, okay, so I would just request a maps always be included. Item 9, the side letter agreement with the POA.
We just pulled it and she gave a comment. Can you make your comment now, or do you need it for agenda, or?
Well, I was hoping to get some budget numbers on that. I had some questions regarding budgeting.
Pull that up too.
And then, was going to pull the tow franchise agreement, but I heard a rumor that somebody wants to remove that one from the agenda.
That's being removed, so in the motion, that'll be removed.
Okay, so just those ones that I
So
mentioned.
6 and 9.
Yeah, 6 and 9, and then
Yes.
removing tow franchise.
All right, so I'll just say, entertain a motion to approve the agenda and the consent calendar, removing items 6 and 9, and, I'm sorry, removing item 6 and 9 for staff reports and removing item 10 to come back at a later date. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I think I
Is there a
pushed the
second?
move.
Somebody already moved it, I've got second up here.
All right, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, we're going to move to public comments at this time pursuant to the Brown Act. Any persons may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council should not take action on or discuss matters raised by the public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and should be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. I have 3. They're blue cards. These are on items not on the agenda. If something's on the agenda tonight, you can wait till that item to speak. Let's see. So that's item number 4. And Frank, are you going to speak on item number 4, or is this general? Okay, so item number 4. Do I have any general comments and public comments? I have no speaker cards for public comments. Last call. We'll close public comments. If you do want to make a public comment on any items not on the agenda, we do have one more time at the end of the meeting. All right, we're going to move the city manager's report. City manager's report already. We move.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. So for fiscal year 23-24, as of May 31st, 2024. Our revenues we received over 23 million, which is at 70% of our amended budget. Last year at this time, we had 23.2 million, which is also 70% of that budget. And 2 years ago, we had 23.9 million, which was 76% of the budget. I'd like to point out for this fiscal year, as the last 2 years by this time, we had received the second payment of the county property tax, which included the property tax and the parcel tax and a franchise fee. We have not received that payment from the county yet. So the lower number for 23-24 is because we have not received that second property tax payment. For expenditures this year, we've had over 30 million, which is 87% of our adopted budget. Last year at this time was 28.3 million, which was 80% of the budget. And 2 years ago at this time, we were at 24.7 million, which is 76% of the budget.
And that's all the updates that we have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We're going to move the mayor and council member comments. I'll start with Mr. Nunez.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I have is I just want to tell the council and staff is I want to really appreciate you guys taking the time to deal with my schedule. I've been working a lot out of town, and so it's been really difficult, coming back and forth from Riverside and Moreno Valley to Desert Hot Springs. So it's been a real tough past 3 months, and I have like a couple more months left. So I do apologize, and I thank you guys for being patient with me. So thank you. Other than that, Firebirds play tonight. We are in Milwaukee, and this is game 3 of our Western Conference final. Go Birds.
Go Birds. We appreciate what you're doing to accommodate our closed sessions too by calling in, so thank you. Training can't always be easy when you're in the work world. Ms. Pye.
With permission from the mayor, we are, I and Councilmember Gardner are working on the Human Rights Committee. We have one, but we don't have anyone on the committee. And so we're not putting anything on staff. Just watch me. We are going to figure out exactly what it is about. We're working on the equality for a barometer for all ethnicities, and we will put it together and bring it back to the council in January to give us enough time. So we're not bringing it to you until maybe December. And another thing, I am friends with the cannabis person in Palm Springs, and she came here last week visiting Miracle Springs, and she called to compliment me because she said our city is really cleaned up, and she didn't see all of the homeless people that she had been seeing before. So she wanted to compliment me, so I told her I would pass it on, that our city is clean, there aren't a bunch of homeless people, and that we are moving up. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a handful of quick updates here. Got a chance to attend our Memorial Day event, and as always, a very moving presentation from our speakers and our bagpiper and the flyover. I wanted to take a second and thank Fred Bell over at Palm Springs Air Museum for a fantastic flyover this year, multiple flyover. It was pretty cool. And also to thank all of the vets who paid the ultimate sacrifice we remember on Memorial Day. We had the groundbreaking for the new fire station in Hacienda Heights, so it's going to be really fun to watch that rise up out of the ground over the next year and bring it online. I can't wait to see that. Also our annual street namings for the valedictorians of DHS High and at Wenslav. So proud of these great kids who no doubt are going to go on to become great members of our community and hopefully come back and after college and help continue to make DHS a great place. And lastly, I wanted to announce that our DHS Women's Latina Club, or Latina Women's Club, is having a Father's Day fundraiser dinner dance, daddy-daughter dance, a week from Friday on June 14th from 7 to 12. Tickets are only $10, and the dance will be at Ocean Springs Tech down on Two Bunch of Palms. So if you're interested, reach out to me and I'll tell you how to get tickets. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Betts.
Yeah, thanks. So Thursday I head to Southern California Association of Governments up in Los Angeles. This meeting coming up is going to be a little bit more significant. The agency, SCAG, as it's referred to, literally awards billions of dollars for projects throughout 6 counties in Southern California. I sit on the Transportation Committee at SCAG, and technically I'm an appointee of Coachella Valley Association of Governments, roundaboutly representing our city up there at SCAG. With so many cities and counties involved in that organization, there's a lot of requests for funding. And typically, when you're up there at these meetings, you're seeing, a bunch of other cities get the awards, and maybe something near and dear to our hearts is on a contingency list or a sorry you didn't get it this time list. Not so at this meeting coming up. This time on the approved list is funding for the bridge across the wash on Indian Canyon Boulevard. I'm sure you've seen the news on that, and it's not all the funding that's needed. We had a very good presentation by Tom Kirk here at the presentation sections of the meeting. It's a huge project. I think he said $100 million, but there is $7 million being awarded that Coachella Valley was awarded through that. So I have the pleasure of getting to vote yes on that one. Just by way of detail, there was 61 projects vying for $279 million. There was 30 projects that were awarded and 30 that weren't. And what else we got here? I don't know if I bore you with this, but this is basically that the award was for, God, I can't read it. Oh, I'm not going to read it. It's for dust mitigation. It has to do with dust, so that's the way they found a category for this one to be awarded. Anyhow, so it's good to be able to go up there and vote for that one. And it'll go from Transportation Committee then on to the Regional Council in the same day. Sunline Transit Agency, by the way, also received $5 million under that same deal. I did attend my Sunline Transit Agency meeting. Interesting detail people don't realize is that the fares that are collected for Sunline Transit Agency for the buses only pays for 3.7% of the cost of running those buses. So, you could raise the fares a whole lot more and never get to the point. It's all funded on grants. So there's $5 million more coming in. We had the Fire Station 98 groundbreaking. I'll just take a minute on that one. There was no fire station serving on the east side of the city. And I think that conversation had been going on for must be 20 years. And certainly since the Skyborn station got built, people were saying, well, we didn't really need the station at Skyborn. We needed the station on the east side. And I can just remember over the last 15, 20 years, you've got endless number of public safety commissioners during their meetings, city council members, city managers, long list of people pushing for that to happen. And it was really, really nice to be able to take part in that one and throw the shovel of dirt. And every time you're there at one of these groundbreakings, you think, well, there's a whole lot of work that went on went on with this to bring this project to the point it is now. And you're just thinking, man, the number of shovels that really should be here to participate in that groundbreaking. But anyhow, to people who are thinking this is only serving the east side, it's really not. Station 37 is so busy that, and if they're out on a call way over on the east side of the city, then they're going to have a hard time getting back to where they need to, especially if they're out on multiple calls. So this is really a big benefit to all of the efficiency of the entire system. It takes some pressure off at 37, and it's really a very good thing that this has come about. So we attended that. The next item came up. There was a large concentration of homeless. Maybe you didn't see it. There was a guy in a hammock in the tree, and I want to thank the city manager for addressing that. He'd taken up a hammock right there at Two Bunch Palms and Palm Drive. Thought it was a great place to camp. Well, there was a large congregation of homeless in that same location over the past couple of days. It's just not a good look for the city. We had a lot of people going to Two Bunch Palms Resort, and they're driving right past this. So as I'm working with the Vaughn's Shopping Center manager, subject comes up is, what's the city policy? So I need to get some policy clarification from, our business owners in town on their own when it comes to this type of impact at their business. Must have been 15 people with shopping carts, all kinds of mess, everything. I mean, it was just a big scene. And the previous policy, as I remember it, was they fill out form as a 602, which is an advance notice to city that this is an advanced trespassing notice. And then if somebody is sleeping in front of their business, or a large bunch of them have taken up encampments in front of their stores as we have going on, this Form 602 allows the police just to go by and take care of it. But I know at the last meeting, when I tried to bring up about, sanitation issues and getting some type of sanitation support, the sentiment seemed to be, well, that's up to the businesses to deal with. And then when it came to clearing this one, there was some help to get them off of the landscaping, but it just seemed to be, so all of that is to ask the city manager, what can our businesses count on or not count on when it comes to the city responding and offering assistance if somebody's found somebody sleeping in front of their doorway, or a large contingent like took place here the last couple of days over there at 2 Bunch Palms and Palm Drive. Where are we at?
Well, ultimately, the property owners, have to protect their properties. I mean, that's ultimately, especially from a business perspective, what their objective should be. What the city is not is security. The police department is not security. The 602 letters, what we use a lot on is the vacant land, when they're not there, and there's, a camp, let's say, on there that we could access the property and do that removal, so.
Okay, so a lot of the business owners, if you get somebody sleeping in front of your place, you're afraid to tell them to move for fear that something will happen when you're not there, store's closed, broken window or whatever. And on that situation, last couple of days, the property manager was telling to move, and they were just saying, sorry, we're not moving. And it wasn't until the police showed up. So maybe I'll just talk to you afterwards and try and get clarity on this. But so basically the message to business owners is now you're on your own?
Well, and, in consultation with the chief on it, I mean, the officers would help to assist in cases where there was a trespasser not leaving. But again, ultimately, it's the responsibility of the property owner. The police department is just not security for property.
Okay, and so it's situations where some of them were at the Wells Fargo ATM. Well, that's people right there, just standing right there as people are getting money. Is that a situation where the police will come and clear them out of there?
The ATM, that part of it is illegal. Yeah,
Okay.
so that is.
And the drive-through when you're trying to make a transaction there as well, right? Okay, all right. Anyhow, so, all right, well, I'm gonna have to get together with you and try and figure out, because they were expecting a whole lot more based on what we had told them previously, and that was a policy change, and I think somehow we need to get notice out to them, tell them they're on their own. That aside, attended Sunline and pushing for more bus shelters where we need them. Everybody's waiting for a bus in the hot sun, thinks it's needed there. So not all of them are designated to have bus shelters, but I'm trying to get as many as we can. I think we attended the Big Heart Awards, right? And we hadn't reported on that. And that was a good event. It was nice to see those awards handed out. Memorial Day ceremony was good. Attended the street naming ceremony. I got there a little bit late, but I got to get a great picture with the recipient. He's valedictorian. Great job. And last thing I want to say is talking about graduation ceremony at Desert Hot Springs High School. And I've been attending graduation ceremonies for a long time as a council member. It's just one of the things that we do with respect to the school. This is the first time I had a family member who was graduating, my grandson. And I don't normally talk about family matters up here, but I'm going to now. There's a point at the end. My grandson immigrated from China, and 10 years ago I dropped him off at Bella Vista. And when I walked up to the counter, I said, hi, he doesn't speak any English. They said, oh, well, that's okay. We speak lots of Spanish here. And I go, well, no, he doesn't speak any Spanish either. He only speaks Chinese. And this poor kid got dropped off at Bella Vista Elementary. Not a single person at school could talk to him. I don't know how he found his way, but the principal at Bella Vista said, don't worry, he'll pick up English pretty quick. And he did. And the only thing I want to say is that he's now graduated, top 10 in his class, honors in English, STEM student, science, technology, what is it, math and science. And I couldn't help him with any of those because I had a journalism major. And I'm really, really proud of him for his achievement. The grade point average, 4.6. But what I'm really, really proud of is for the city is Palm Springs Unified School District. They're the ones who gave him that quality education. We've got a great school system, and everybody should be very, very proud of that. And I'm just taking some time here a little bit to brag about my grandson, but also to brag about our school district and the schools and the great opportunity our kids have going through that system. So there's nothing that anybody in Desert Hot Springs should be ashamed of when it comes to our wonderful Palm Springs Unified School District. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will try to be as brief as possible. I'm going to report on the events and committees that I went to. We've had a lot going on the last few weeks, this last month, and it's been a great opportunity to highlight our staff here in the city of Desert Hot Springs and our achievements. We had the reopening of the last roadway here in Desert Hot Springs, and we had a little celebration at the Indian Canyon infrastructure project there. If you haven't had a chance to drive through Indian Canyon or Dillon Road, you'll see some major infrastructure. Little Morongo has major infrastructure where most of that's covered under the ground, which is, I think it's believed 16 feet of concrete wall that comes down there. Unfortunately, we couldn't lift it like we did Indian and Dillon Road due to the fact that the federal government would only reimburse certain amounts. So I know there's a lot of money quarterbacks out there talking about how they would love, what they would love to see those roads, but I want to reassure you that the city of Desert Hot Springs did a fantastic, our staff did a fantastic job on getting the project done in the time frame that it was asked to get done. If not, we would not have been reimbursed by FEMA, and we would have lost up to 25% for every day we were over. And so it was a great achievement by the city of Desert Hot Springs, and I was really happy that we were able to go out there and celebrate that. And really, it was to celebrate the staff and what they did for us. The Big Heart Awards, the Rotary Club here in Desert Hot Springs each year has, for the last 8 years now, has put on what they call the Big Heart Awards. They give educators, community leaders, public safety, and city staff awards for their services here in this community. And each year they allow me as the mayor to give an award out. And this year I awarded thank you, Leroy Allman, who is one of our planning commissioners, but he's also a volunteer with youth football and Little League for his services here in the city of Desert Hot Springs. If you get a chance, you can go on to social media and see all the awardees, but a lot of great people in our community, and thank you to the Desert Hot Springs Rotary Club for all they do for our community. As stated, we had the Memorial Day event. Again, thank you to Palm Springs Air Museum for providing a flyover. I think there was a bigger plane that came over a few minutes before it started, and there was a smaller plane that came over right when it started. So it was a great event, memorializing or talking about the men and women that gave the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms of our country. So, and then what's very close to my heart and has been for 17 years on the city council is more fire services in our community. So it was a little bit emotional that day to be able to break ground, and thank you to Chief White and our fire chief, Bill Weiser, and our past chief, Mike Beverlin, for being there and really helping us celebrate this opportunity with a groundbreaking. In 12 to 13 months, we'll be doing a ribbon cutting, and we'll have new fire services on the east end of the city, which is so important. Sometimes a call takes 7 to 8 minutes to get to the east side of the city, and that's way too long for medical services. So this is really a great opportunity. Not long from now, we'll be providing some paramedic services on a squad here in our city with a light truck. So there's some great opportunities coming for public safety on our fire side of things, and I really appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, I know Mayor Pro Tem Pai asked me this question. I should have made it during city manager comments, piggybacking off the fire station. There was a question about fire engine access. Egress, and there will be some kind of light there, so they'll be able to turn left, protected from traffic coming down the hill. So yes, that is in the planning process.
I was going to ask that question last,
sorry.
But no, thank you for chiming in. So with that said, also on last Friday was the, as Mr. Betts said, congratulations to you and your grandson for all his achievements. Being top 10 is a huge achievement for our community, and he's represented well. In Desert Hot Springs High School and all our alternative education center, each year we dedicate a street to the valedictorian and the top student at the alternative education center. And this year we awarded our valedictorian to Geraldo Baldelia Alves, and then in alternative education, our top student was Layla Mills. Geraldo is going to go to, gosh, I hope I get it right. I think it's UCLA. Gosh, if he goes to USC, he's going to be mad. And he's gonna focus on some sciences. It was a long name, but he graduated with a 4.7. It's amazing, and he's going to do great things. And I know he'll come back to his community. And his mom, I tried to talk to her 3 times, and she just couldn't stop crying. She was so proud of him. It was an awesome experience. So congratulations to both those students and what they're doing. And Layla has plans to go to nursing school right away. So pretty awesome for what the young people are doing in our community. I did attend the Coachella Valley Association of Governments Transportation meeting yesterday morning, and quite a few things on the agenda, but one of the things that we need to note is that the TPPS, which is the Transportation Prioritization Plan, it basically sets the plan for all the main arterials and major highways and other projects, and that's going to be updated. And so we'll have to watch that and see how that's updated to make sure that we support it going forward. Also, yesterday evening, CVAG Executive Committee met, and there was a presentation on the budget, which will go forward and come to the membership meeting at the end of the month. I've been chair for a year already. It's incredible how fast it goes by, and how the chair works for the Coachella Valley Association of Governments is each city rotates in after a certain period of time. And this fiscal year was Desert Hot Springs' turn, and 7 meetings in, and it's already over. And I got one more meeting to chair, and the annual meeting, and it'll be over. But I hope I represented us well, and I've always had a lot of respect from that committee. And so looking forward to what we started. And one of the things that I did implement was an ad hoc committee on what we call Interstate 10, which is to focus on alternative routes in and around Interstate 10, the condition of Interstate 10, the aesthetics of Interstate 10, and a few other small projects, such as studies on truck traffic in the future. As any of us who travel down Valley know, it's starting to become a little tough when we're on the freeway. It's not as it was when I was a kid, long time ago. I won't say how many years ago, but I used to be able to get from Palm Desert to Desert Hot Springs in 20 minutes, and now it takes 35, 40 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes. So it is something that I hope the ad hoc committee has only met once. We'll meet one more time in a couple weeks, and then they'll continue down with their purview over time to really find real solutions to those. So really, there was at the end of, I wanted to say we approved a contract also for a pavement management program. It's the same as a pavement management plan that most cities have, and this is something new for Coachella Valley Association of Governments. The CVAG is usually a planning agency and not really an agency that gets into operations and maintenance. But with some of the funding that might be coming from the state, this is something that they're going to prioritize and see how this works and have a plan for that. So pretty good, a lot of great things coming. It was an interesting conversation that took place, and you might have seen some of it on the media last night, was that our executive directors made some pretty strong comments about our air quality here in our valley. As most of you know, after Tropical Storm Hillary left us, the mud in the washes dried up and it became silt. And now with just a small amount of wind, sometimes as little as 10 miles an hour, you see these large clouds of dust that are looming over our communities. We are very fortunate in the city of Desert Hot Springs to be a little above that, meaning that we're to the north, and our views, not our view, but our elevation is a little higher than where those washes blow that silt down. And so we see the plumes down there, and we drive through it to get back to our homes here, but the rest of the valley is suffering, and there's mitigation being done by air quality, Southern California Air Quality. The air quality management, there's so many letters and different agencies, and what they're doing is they actually have 2 stations that they're monitoring, one in Palm Springs, one in Mecca, and there's one in India which was just fixed. It was actually damaged, and so they're also looking for other areas, but they don't know if they're actually collecting the right data for the future. And so there's a lot of discussion on how that will look in the future. We are very fortunate to have Supervisor Perez, who represents our district out here, who sits on that board, and also made some strong comments about what he believes will happen in the future and how that can really help. So stay tuned. I understand, especially if you work down Valley or you don't live here in Desert Hot Springs, that it can be tough to breathe sometimes with these we call them therapeutic breezes up here because we're used to the wind up here, but if you live down Valley, you're not as used to those strong winds as we are. So stay tuned for that. And then if you didn't have a chance to come in tonight for the CVAG presentation on the Indian Canyon and Varner Roads updates, you can check our presentation period at 5:15 on our YouTube channel, and you can watch that presentation by CVAG on the updates on when Indian Canyon is going to start construction with its bridge over the wash area and what Varner looks like in the future. So a lot of good things going on and good information. And I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So through the wonders of technology, my grandson is watching the meeting, texted that he is going to UCLA. I just want to...
Good. Whew. Got it right. Sorry, Gerardo. With that said, we're going to move to our administrative calendar. Our first item on the calendar is the audited financial statement for fiscal year 22-23. Mr. Buckheim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have Sophia with the Poon Group here to do a presentation.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, and also Council Member and City's Management. This is Sophia Kuo from the Poon Group. Thank you for having me here tonight. What I will be going through will be the scope of work, and this is for fiscal year June 30, 2023 audit. So what I'm going to go through tonight will be the scope of work and also the required communication in accordance with professional standard AUC section 260, and also overview of the financial statements and some key pension information. Last will be our audit result. So the scope of work include the audit of the city's basic financial statements and housing successor compliance audit. We were also engaged to perform some agreed upon procedures, including the appropriation limit schedule and also the utility user tax. And we were also engaged to perform the compliance examination on APA expenditures. Like I mentioned, in accordance with the professional standard AUC section 260, we are required to have some communication with those charged with governance. Here at the city, we determine the council members are those charged with governance, so that's why I'm here tonight to discuss the item. And then we also issue the planning communication letter back when we started the audit, and we also issue the conclusion letter. So here are some of our responsibilities in accordance with the professional standards while performing the audit. So we were required to form and express an opinion about whether the financial statements that have been prepared by the management with your oversight are presented fairly in all material respect in accordance with U.S. GAAP. We were also required to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance instead of absolute assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements. The reason for that is we were not doing 100% of the testing. It's a risk approach, and we are doing sampling, so that's why only reasonable assurance can be obtained. And we were also required to consider the internal control over financial reporting. However, such consideration do not provide enough evidence for us to issue opinion on the internal control, which means we did not issue opinions, and we are not opining on that. And we were also required to conclude whether any conditions or events that will raise substantially doubt about the city's ability to continue as a going concern. And last, again, we are also required to communicate with those charged with governance. So that's I have been emphasizing this. This is pretty important. So that's why I'm here tonight. And throughout the whole entire audit, we comply with all the relevant ethical requirements regarding independence. So the independence includes independence in appearance and also independence in mind. which mainly related to the non-audit services that we provided to the city, mainly related to the drafting of the financial statement and footnote disclosures. We really need to make sure that we didn't step into management role to make management decisions. So sorry. And throughout the whole entire audit, we comply with all the ethical requirements. And there were some significant accounting policies that disclosed by the city in the financial statements, which were disclosed in the Note 1 to the financial statements, which is really important because it dictates how the city prepares the basic financial statements and then whether the city adopted the sound accounting policies. And during the year ended June 30, 2023, the city implemented GASB 96, which is subscription-based information technology arrangement. The new GASB pronouncements requires the city to go through all the IT-related arrangement, cloud-based, and also if any subscription-based. The city went through all the agreements to determine whether the agreements meet the criteria to book the right to use asset and also liability on the book. And in accordance with US GAAP, there were some significant estimates required to be made by the management here at the city. The significant estimates include investment reported at fair value and also depreciation and amortization on capital assets. And also the net pension liability, which is a purely estimate based on actuarial study. And there were some sensitive disclosures that we highly recommend the readers of the financial statement to go through, which include a Note 1, summary of the significant accounting policies, which I mentioned earlier, and Note 9, defined benefit pension plan, Note 13, contingencies and commitments, Note 16, subsequent events, which include the CFD issuance and also the FEMA grant program and also the loan program with RCTC that related to the tropical storm happened back in August 2023. And there were no material uncorrected misstatements. And from time to time, the city's management might decide to go out to seek for different opinions on accounting treatments or anything. To the best of our knowledge, there were no such consultation. And we encountered no significant difficulty in dealing with the management. Also, we did not have any disagreement with the city's management in terms of accounting treatments or auditing procedures that we performed. And now I'm going to provide some overview of the financial statements, the governmental activities summaries. This is a snapshot of the net position of the city. As of June 30, 2023, the city's net position ended with $60.1 million compared to last year, $60.1 million. And as you can see, we say as restated, which was because of the GASB 96 implementation. There are three categories in the net position that includes net investment in capital asset, which is the biggest category among the three. That's the city's capital assets net of related debt. And then the restricted net position that came from the external restrictions or enabling legislation. And that leads the unrestricted net position ended with a deficit $7.3 million, which mainly resulted from pension liability. And this slide is basically it's an income statement for the governmental activity as a whole. So the program revenues includes your charges of services and then operating and capital grants. In 2023, the program revenue was $24.9 million compared to last year, $13.4 million. And the expenses to provide the programs and services to the residents. In 2023, it was $14.9 million compared to last year, $13.8 million. So that resulted in the net cost of services was in deficit $20.9 million compared to last year, $15.4 million. The general revenue mainly came from tax revenues that the city collects and recognized, which was almost 20 million in 2023 compared to last year 19 million. That result in the change in net position by negative 1 million, and last year was 3.6 million. So the costs of service to tax revenue from 2023, the city is more relied on the tax revenue collected and recognized. The ratio was 112%, increased from 83%. So now I'm going to go through some general fund and then public safety special revenue fund combined information. So this is a balance sheet snapshot and fund balances. So from the slide you can see the fund balance includes net non-spendable, which is $51,000 came from prepaid items that you cannot easily convert into cash. And the restricted fund balance that from external restrictions, that 541,000. The committed fund balance, that 8.1 million, that came from the council direction and designation, that 8.1 million, it mainly came from the 25% of the marijuana tax reserve and the other 15% of the general fund operating budget. And that remains the assigned fund balance by the management, $348,000. So this is the income statement for general fund and the public safety special revenue fund. In 2023, the revenue was about $30 million with $32.6 million in expenditures. And net with other financing sources and uses, which came from transfer out and also proceeds from sale of properties. That result in the net change in fund balance by negative $4.7 million, which really mainly came from the one-time only, the abated project, so one-time only expense. And this particular slide shows the 5-year trend. So the fund balance decreased from 13.7 million to 9 million from last year to this year. Now I'm going to go through some key pension information. So the city participates in CalPERS plan with miscellaneous plan and safety plan. So the miscellaneous plan, the net pension liability ended with 4.2 million compared to last year 1.9 million. The funding ratio changed from 88% to 77%. The change mainly came from the actuarial. They changed their assumption, particularly on the investment rate of return. They dropped from 7.15% to 6.9%. And so for the contribution made during fiscal year 2023, it was $979,000 compared to last year, $794,000. So the safety plan is pretty comparable to miscellaneous plan. The funding ratio went from 84% to 72% with the same because of the same reason. And contribution made during fiscal year 2023 was $2.5 million compared to last year $2.1 million. So with that, it will bring to the audit results. So I'm happy to say we issue a modified opinion, which is the best opinion that the CPA can render. That means the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respect. Significant accounting policies have been consistently applied, and estimates that I mentioned earlier, investment in fair market value, pension liability, and also depreciation and amortization on the capital asset, those estimates are reasonable, and all the disclosures are properly reflected in the financial statements. For housing compliance audit, we also issue a modified opinion. That means that it complies with the housing compliance requirements in all material respect. We do have some reportable findings that we want to disclose here, which are related to internal control over financial reporting and also internal control over compliance and compliance with monitoring and reporting of affordable housing. Those details are attached in our reports, which is also included in the agenda package. You can read through it, and then if you have any questions, I will be more than willing to happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for having me here again.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the information. I'm going to call it public comment, and then we'll bring you back up to answer questions from the council. Anybody in the public would like to speak to this item? I see nobody coming forth. I'll start with City Council. I don't know if anybody's in the queue, sorry. Mr. Betts, go ahead.
Sorry, I actually
Yep, I
wasn't
got you in the queue. They worked this
I
time.
wasn't in the queue this time, but I'll take it, okay?
Yeah.
So, everything's fine is what you're seeing, right? Just a couple of items at the end, and you're confident that those have been noted to our city management, but corrected? Good. So
Yeah.
It's a very complicated matter, Jeffrey. I take it you've just got a really good report card. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This is a receive and file item. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to move to item number 4, which is the presentation and request for support for Liftirize 2024-26 Affordable Housing Action Plan. Eric. Hold on one second. We're going to give Eric a little quick introduction.
I'll do a quick intro.
Thank you.
They need no intro. Everybody knows them. Lift to Rise. They are a local nonprofit that works on different housing policies and strategies with every city here and the counties here in the Coachella Valley. And with that, I have Ian and Jessica from Lift to Rise, and they brought a whole team with them to talk about housing.
Thank you, Eric, for that introduction. Good evening, Mayor Matas, Mayor Pro Tem Pai, council members Betts, Gardner, and Nunez, city staff, and thanks again, Eric. My name's Ian Gabriel. I'm the Director of Data Policy and Planning at Liftirize, and I'm joined by my colleague
Jessica Pollard, the Senior Policy Analyst at Liftirize.
And we're here very excited to present our 2024-2026 action plan to you all. We are presenting this plan to every city council in the Coachella Valley over the course of about 6 weeks. We've already done Indian Wells, Palm Springs, and Palm Desert, and the rest of the cities are coming before the end of the month. So we're really grateful for you for putting us on the agenda tonight. What we want to cover tonight is make sure that you understand who we are, where we've been, where we're going, and how the City of Desert Hot Springs can continue to join our efforts in the work that we do. So Lift to Rise is a nonprofit organization. We're based in the city of Palm Desert. We started in 2018 with a North Star of a future where all Coachella Valley families are healthy, stable, and thriving. And we bring together a group of over 70 cross-sector partners, including all 9 cities, Riverside County, affordable housing developers, local nonprofits, residents, funders, all around a shared goal of reducing rent burden in the Coachella Valley by 30% through the production of 10,000 units of affordable housing by 2028. So we have a 10-year goal that started in 2018 to get 10,000 units of affordable housing built. And then every 2 years, we create an action plan to get us towards that goal. So just wanted to show you a little bit of information about where we've been. All of these wins have come out of our action plans since 2018. Prior to that year, between 2010 and 2018, the Coachella Valley saw an average of about 38 units of affordable housing being produced per year, which is very low. Now we're at over 1,200 units under construction, with thousands more ready to go in earlier stages of the development process. Since 2021, Lift to Rise has operated the We Lift Coachella Valley Housing Catalyst Fund, which is a revolving loan fund that sparks affordable housing development with low-interest flexible loans. Through that fund, Lift to Rise has been able to obligate $26 million in loans to 11 affordable housing projects across the Coachella Valley, sparking nearly 900 units of affordable housing. And then we've also, over the past 2 years, been able to activate almost 1,800 community residents from across the Coachella Valley to become civically engaged, give public comment at meetings like this, write to their representatives in support of affordable housing initiatives. And you'll hear from many of them today. So as I mentioned before, an action plan is essentially a strategic plan. It's a roadmap that we created together with our 70-plus partners, including contributions from Mayor Pro Tem Jampai, Eric Bessaril here, and other members of staff from City of Desert Hot Springs. And it outlines our shared contributions to reaching our 10-year goal over the next 2 years. So what we're hoping to accomplish by the end of this 2-year period is to reach that 7,500 unit mark out of our 10,000 units out of that goal. And we want to emphasize connections between affordable housing and childcare and affordable housing and healthcare with those units. So the process of coming up with an action plan, it was a 6-month facilitated process where we brought together all of our partners. We looked at data, we heard from community residents, and we put our heads together with all of our partners to come up with the factors that are sort of preventing us from reaching our goal and the strategies that we need to embark on to reach our goal. And the group, over the course of that 6-month process, came up with these 6 key strategy areas, which Jessica will get into a little bit more detail on.
Thank you. Okay, so as Ian mentioned, part of our action plan is to identify 7,500 units that are under construction or completed that are in many phases of development by 2026, and we're able to do this by our affordable housing pipeline portal, which is on our website. That pipeline portal allows us to spot, track, and frame the developments across the valley, and we're happy to see and report that Desert Hot Springs has about 837 units of affordable housing currently in the pipeline, and we're looking forward to seeing those come to life. Our focus on funding is to address the bottleneck that occurs when developers are attempting to receive that funding that is really going to help them complete their developments. And another way that we're able to do this is with our We Lift Coachella Valley Housing Catalyst Fund, which is a revolving loan fund that helps spur the production of affordable housing in the Coachella Valley. And we're really happy that we got support from the City of Desert Hot Springs last year when we applied for the SCAG grant, and that we received funding for. We're given the state deficit, we're hoping that we can count on alternative funding options with local solutions to that. We're seeing that many housing programs in the state are the funding is being cut for that. So we're looking forward to working locally, and we know that the City of Desert Hot Springs is establishing an EIFD to also address this issue with funding for affordable housing. Oh, snap. Okay, sorry. So policy advocacy, our focus here is to encourage and support the pro-housing policies that are going to reduce the barriers to more affordable housing units being built across the valley. And we're able to do this in various ways. But we work with state and federal legislative advocates that will amplify our issues in Sacramento and DC and try to advocate for more funding for the area or streamlined housing policies that are going to address the issue that we're seeing. And we're grateful for the City of Desert Hot Springs to be the first city in the valley to address one of those issues by doing the ADU program.
Repeat that again.
The part where you think Desert Hot Springs.
Repeat that again.
We're very grateful to the City of Desert Hot Springs for introducing something so instrumental in streamlining, affordable housing. And infrastructure, as I'm sure you're all aware, is one of the huge barriers to getting affordable housing produced or developments completed in the valley. And so we're working with our local utility companies to address these issues as well. And we recognize that the City of Desert Hot Springs also applied for a REAP 2.0 grant, and we've been working closely with city staff to advocate for that funding so that we can have the infrastructure, the water and sewer infrastructure possible to get the many projects that are developments in the pipeline completed. And then with movement building, as Ian also mentioned, we've been able to mobilize almost 1,800 residents over the past 2 years, and we're able to do this with initiatives such as our resident leadership table and then our committees by cities to help the residents advocate for the housing goals that we're all that are aligned with us. And as I'm sure you all have seen our billboards, if not, we've got one on our presentation here across the valley. Working with our strategic communications team, we're able to bring greater public awareness and support for affordable housing in the region. And then rapid response is extremely important part of our plan. Back during the pandemic, we launched a rental assistance program that dispersed about almost over $300 million across the Riverside County, keeping over 120,000 residents housed. And in Desert Hot Springs specifically, we dispersed about $12.6 million, keeping over, or dispersed over almost 1,800 households and keeping people housed. And
So the theme of our action plan is we have the plan, you have the power. And so what we're trying to emphasize to folks is that we have this coalition of partners. We've done the work to come up with a plan that will move housing production forward, affordable housing production forward. We know that it's a key issue across the Coachella Valley where folks can't afford generally to pay for their rent, and we're going city by city, emphasizing that you all have the power to help us move this strategy, this plan and these strategies forward. We wanted to congratulate you again on your certified housing element. There's a lot of great programs identified there that will move the ball forward. And we're also grateful for the city's participation thus far in our efforts and the great work that they've been doing here. But we also encourage you to continue working with us and prioritize affordable housing by endorsing this action plan. Thank you very much, and we'll take some questions if you have any.
We appreciate it. I'm going to take public comment first, and I'm going to bring you guys back up because there will be questions for you. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to start with Malcolm Harris.
All right. Hi, my name is Malcolm Harris, and I am a proud Desert Hot Springs resident, even though I'm rocking my East Palo Alto cap. And I'm here with my grandmother, who I'm a caregiver for, my 94-year-old grandmother, who is also a resident of Desert Hot Springs. And I'm also representing my 74-year-old mother, who I'm about to be a caregiver for, her daughter, who is going to be coming to live in Desert Hot Springs. And Desert Hot Springs is a great community. We have loved living here. It reminds me of the small town that I grew up in the Bay Area, where my grandmother and my mom both grew up, and both sides of my family, and where both sides of my family have been displaced. And that, like a lot of communities across California, many folks have been displaced, and Desert Hot Springs is one of those places we've been able to find affordable. But one of the things that I found is that after moving here and moving my grandmother here in the last couple of years, it's just the lack of affordable senior housing in particular, but affordable housing in general, to the point where even with 6 months notice, I still struggle to be able to find affordable housing for my grandmother. And like a lot of other communities, we've had to take on the support of her. And so my one household is supporting 2.5 households at this point. And that's a story that you hear for a lot of communities across the valley and right here in Desert Hot Springs, is the lack of affordable housing and the pressure that places on many of our folks. And while, again, our situation and our story isn't unique, just the amount of pressure that's added to communities without the support of affordable housing, especially in a place like Desert Hot Springs, where over the last year the rent has increased, I believe, by 17%. And just the impact that places on communities and the potential for further displacement. And I have to name this, that as a Black person, also the disproportionate impacts of the lack of affordable housing in particular, also who is mostly impacted by the homelessness that's happening across our states. And that in pretty much in every major city, and including here in the Valley, there's a disproportionate impact on Black community. And I have to say that out loud because my grandmother is here, and she would be mad at me if I did not name that as a reality. It's because at 94 years, she understands the world that we live in. And so we want to continue to make Desert Hot Springs the type of city that everyone can continue to live in and find affordable, whether you're a homeowner or a renter. And all of us, regardless of whether we're homeowners or renters, we are all hardworking people trying to live and do the best that we can in our cities. And so we are here to push Desert Hot Springs to continue to do what you all have already been doing, and continue to support the building of more affordable housing, and to support and take on Lift to Rise's action plan, which we find is will make an instrumental difference across the Valley.
Harris, your 3 minutes, but thank you.
Is it up already?
Yeah,
All
it
right.
goes by so fast. Thank you so much. Great words. Alejandra Meza Aguilar.
Good evening, Desert Hot Springs City Council. I'm Alejandro Mesa Aguilar. I'm not a Desert Hot Springs resident. I'm actually a Coachella, City of Coachella resident. I'm actually out here to emphasize the urgent need for affordable housing in the Coachella Valley. Despite earning a decent salary, many still struggle with rent for about $2,040, which is the median household income, is roughly $76,000. This means families with a full-time minimum with two full-time minimum wage jobs often allocate over half their income to housing. And I'm gonna time jump back to 2008 to 2013, when rent was more manageable, even during the financial crisis, which is insane. Inflation and the pandemic might have left us drastically affected with a different economy, with $70,000 back then in 2008, having the equivalent to roughly $100,000 in 2024, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics CPI inflation calculator. And I'm also encouraged by Desert Hot Springs' efforts to address the housing crisis out here with the great work you guys done. And I want to commend you on that. It's awesome, and keep it up, and I hope this continues forward. The state-approved plan aims to develop over 1,100 affordable housing units. However, we need continued efforts collaborating with organizations like Lift to Rise, because their action plan with the Housing Collaborative Action Network targets the completion of 7,500 homes or affordable homes or housing units within the next 2 years, focusing on early education and health equity, which, folks like Malcolm and his grandmother need. Working with Live to Rise, which unites various partners and stakeholders, has been rewarding, and I am personally also an organizer for the Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice. We've been working with them for about a year doing legal clinics out here, and I commend them on the work that they've helped us with, and also the work that's been done out here throughout the Coachella Valley, in helping about 116 people get help with legal clinics. So I thank the Desert Hot Springs City Council for having us and for allowing us to do this, having this time to talk about housing, which is a difficult subject for some municipalities to take on. So I hope this work still continues on past this City Council, and please keep on working with Lift to Rise the most you can. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up here tonight. Frank Elmer?
Good evening, everyone. Not good at this public speaking stuff. I'm here on behalf of Lift to Rise, asked me to come and make a comment to you guys. And it's just obvious the need for more affordable housing, period. So I don't know what the city has on the roster to get involved to make any kind of program directed at affordable housing happen. But I'm sure you do. You have something in the works. The lady who just spoke, her last comment, Ms. Kuhl, I guess, K-U-L, she made a comment. She didn't really focus on it, to elaborate, but I read it and it said something about affordable housing. So I ran out to grab her and to get some information from her, but you know, she was going one way and things were happening, so I didn't get that information. But I'm sure, you know, and what that means to me is that we need more data and concrete information as to what Lift to Rise can do to support the city in whatever efforts the city has in store to make affordable housing a reality in Desert Hot Springs. So, you know, I'm not one of those loud, you see how nervous I am. This ain't me. So, but the thing is this, is that however I can assist in that area, you know, dealing with the homeless situation is really, really not good. It's not a good look in the city. And it's scary to me because these dudes are young and they're strong and they're mad. I could tell you some, you know, the library is a situation dealing with. So there are real intricate kinds of entanglements that need to be sorted out. You know, at what point does it make a difference that the city can help with the Lift to Rise efforts? So anyhow, I'm done. Thank you.
Great job, Frank.
Thank you.
Attila Zavala? It's the last blue card I have. I will ask for any extra public comments after this card. You don't need to fill out a card if you'd like to speak. You're gonna have to pull that mic down just a little bit. There you go.
Buenas tardes, representantes de la ciudad de Desert Hot Springs. Lo voy a decir en español. Mi nombre es Otila Zavala y yo vivo en el Valle de Coachella. Y yo estoy aquí también para dar un testimonio, ¿verdad?, del gran trabajo que está haciendo Rise to Live. Y yo les pido a ustedes que por favor lo apoyen en todo lo que ellos están haciendo.
Her name is Otila Zavala, and she's here to talk about asking for support on the plan and what Lift to Rise is doing here.
Esta organización no lucrativa está trabajando por el mejoramiento de viviendas a través de todo el Valle de Coachella.
This nonprofit organization is working throughout the whole Coachella Valley to bring more affordable housing.
Les voy a contar una historia de personas en las que hemos ayudado y conocemos, sabemos en las condiciones de vida en las que están.
She's going to share a story about people they've been helping and their current conditions, especially their current living conditions.
A partir de la pandemia, hubo muchas personas que perdieron su trabajo. Las rentas aumentaron y desafortunadamente las personas están pagando más del 30% de su salario en rentas.
During the pandemic, many families lost their jobs. Lost their jobs. Rent went up, and a lot of folks are paying way more than 30% of their income in rent because rents have gone increasingly high.
En estos días no hay viviendas accesibles. No tenemos una forma de cómo sobrevivir si estamos nada más recibiendo lo que es el seguro social. Lamentablemente tenemos que trabajar otro trabajo para poder sobrevivir, ya que la mayor parte de nuestro salario se va en las rentas.
Currently, it is tough for her to be able.
Por eso, ¿verdad? Yo les pido a ustedes, a todos ustedes, que lo apoyen en este gran trabajo que están haciendo, Left to Right. que sigamos apoyándolo hoy y siempre, porque es para el beneficio de nuestra comunidad, para nuestro beneficio de nuestro propio Valle de Coachella, ya que es un valle maravilloso para vivir. Pero lamentablemente también hay mucha pobreza en ciertas áreas del valle, en donde no tenemos viviendas accesibles, en donde no tenemos un buen lugar donde vivir, ya que lamentablemente hay lugares inapropiados para habitar y así están siendo habitados por personas que no tienen a dónde ir.
She's asking the council to please support the action plan and the work Live to Rise is doing so that they can bring more, not only affordable housing to the Coachella Valley, but also to the city.
Muchas gracias por su atención.
Gracias. Thank you so much. I have no other blue cards. Would anybody else like to speak to the city council in public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Eileen planned to talk, but I needed to. As many of you know...
Teresa, you didn't want to talk? Really?
Wow, I'll take that a little personal. As many of you know, I work at Desert Hot Springs High School with Dreams Come True, with the best high school. But not only that, I'm a family and community engagement specialist. And when I have 3 to 4 families weekly, being homeless is really affecting our community. I do not live in Desert Hot Springs, but I do believe I'm here most time in my own home. So please, I'm not asking you, I'm begging you, support Live to Rise. Because it's not going to help our city, it's going to help our kids, it's going to help their education. And most of the time, I reach out to many of you members here. I reach out to my own principal, and money comes out of our pockets to help our families. I'm beyond grateful for the owner of Miracle Springs. He's always helping me shelter families. So please, please, I beg you, affordable housing is needed, not just for our students, for our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call for public comments? Yes, ma'am. Gerald, can you assist with the microphone, please? Or Eric? You got it? You got it? Okay.
Hi, everyone. So I really wanted to appreciate and say thank you to what Live to Rise has done in the past in the Coachella Valley. I am a recipient and have had help in the past from them to be able to stay inside my home, which was a very important thing during the past few years, for sure. I was recently displaced last summer due to a lot of the housing fluctuation with a lot of the people selling homes and then remarketing them, or, getting into being unaffordable housing. So I just wanted to make a public note that as we keep talking about affordable housing, we also need to focus on safe housing and quiet housing. And these were things that I wasn't actually able to secure in my move this time. This was the first time I have had a problem in over 20 years finding a new residence, with a lot of the property management companies taking a monopoly on control. So therefore, I've been in my home for 20 years. I may not have the most perfect credit, but my rental history is amazing, paid on time, public support from other systems, and I was denied probably 40 places that would have been safe housing for me, based upon, just a simple credit score number, which is what the monopoly is now. So a lot of families are getting displaced, but they're not able to then secure affordable, safe housing. So we're focusing on affordable housing. I'd just like to make that note to I don't know what can be done on that monopoly, or if there's a way to help the actual families in those kind of securing, in those cases of becoming homeless and displacement. So that's just my little note. Thank you. Sorry.
No, nobody apologizing. This is your opportunity. Thank you.
And it wasn't just me this year. I did notice it was over 100 families that were in different groups and things trying to find actual affordable housing and being denied, being good renters and quality, community members, but simple things like that. And then watching other families that maybe weren't so good in a situation and have had other issues being that way. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
On that matter.
Anyone else like to speak to this item? Yes, Tom?
Tom Morin, 45-year resident of Desert Hot Springs, and I have enjoyed this whole presentation. I have enjoyed so much, and I have done a lot of work with tenants over the years, and I thought it would be good to just have a little school teaching on being a renter. If you are a landlord, you recognize the difficulty. We just went through the COVID events, and we had a lot of landlords who had to pay their property tax, but they couldn't collect the rent. And so we had that long episode. And I happen to know that after that, many people were evicted in Desert Hot Springs, around California and the rest of the country. So why don't we educate people a little bit on how this works? Number one, if you have been evicted, that's going to be a big point on your credit rating, and landlords are going to look at that, especially affordable housing landlords, and they have a family that's poor, but they pay their rent on time, and maybe they have to discount it a little bit, or they have people saying, we can pay the whole thing, but we've been evicted. Well, how do we know you're going to pay your rent? How do we know so many things? We need education in this town. We need financial education. There's good schools. We've got good recreation. We have a good senior center. We have a lot of things like that. But, you know, in the country, after you finish school, a lot of the country, there are places where you can get a financial education, and we're lacking that in Desert Hot Springs. We need to have some maybe teachers or business people who can step up to the plate and help these people improve their standing. There's always room to improve. Thank you so much for listening.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this item? All right, we're going to close the public comment this time. We're going to get the city council comments. I'm going to make a few comments, and Mr. Gardner's in the queue first. I've been obviously talking about the fire department earlier, the public safety is so close to my heart. But one of my second issues has always been unhoused and homeless, and the city of Desert Hot Springs has been doing work to move forward on how do we handle those situations. But when it gets to what we call the hub here in Desert Hot Springs, and we can get someone in there and the contacts it takes for someone to get in there, it's always trying to find them housing afterwards. And before people even get homeless, some of them don't have the services they need, and this is why I've always been a big supporter of Lift to Rise since they've been here and what they're doing for our community. They're a puzzle piece in a larger issue that our state needs to solve in the future, which is housing units. And putting this plan together, I think, is important for the city of Desert Hot Springs, let alone the Coachella Valley. If we don't continue to provide affordable housing, we're not going to have those individuals getting the help they need. So I will be totally supportive of this plan. There was also a question by Frank about our housing element, or our audit that happened, and we have a affordable housing fund. Is that what it's called? Or I'm missing the fund name, right?
Yeah. It's the Housing Authority Fund, and it's the remaining low to moderate income funds left over from the former redevelopment agency.
And so there's a small amount, and it might seem like a lot because there's a couple $1 million left there, but that's not a lot of money when you're trying to build homes and stuff. So our city manager has a plan for that money to help with affordable housing, and we're working towards that. But it's not enough to accomplish what Lift to Rise is doing. So whatever support I can give as the mayor of the city of Desert Hot Springs, I'll be there to help you. I'm going to move to Mr. Gary Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Lift to Rise. I got a couple quick questions. I'm not sure who from Lift to Rise you want, but while you're walking up, I'm just going to say it's a fantastic organization. I have been so impressed in the years that I've been here with the work that you're doing. I know a lot of your staff, my good friend Joe Moda, who's a neighbor. You guys do some amazing stuff, and you've been so helpful when I have had constituents that have had problems dealing with landlord or evictions or trying to find housing, and we've been able to refer them to you guys, and you have been so helpful with that. We're always talking about affordable housing but it's so hard to get a definition of, and I know there isn't a simple definition. We have some 800 units in the pipeline, hopefully coming online. Are those going to fit the definition? Because, we have the lowest cost of housing in pretty much anywhere in the Coachella Valley. That being said, most of our new homes are in the $500,000 range. Now, that's not affordable housing. It's low, it's less expensive, I guess is how we would term it, but it's not affordable housing. So what in your realm makes something affordable, and how do we aim towards that?
That's a great question, Councilmember Gardner, and thank you for your kind words about our work. The definition that we use is if the housing is affordable to a household that is making at or below 80% of area median income. In the case of places like Desert Hot Springs, the market rent could actually fall below that threshold. But one piece that's important, we also want to include guaranteed affordability covenants on the units that are being built. So this means that they're not subject to sort of unregulated potential market increases in rent. So it's a combination of both being affordable to at or below 80% AMI and also having guaranteed affordability over time. And usually that comes, especially for multifamily apartments, that usually is guaranteed over the course of 55-year period at a minimum, which is required by a lot of the state funding sources that go into those units. And then in the case of some of the homeownership units that we're working on that are in our pipeline, those have deed restrictions that guarantee affordable mortgage rates for a 10-year period. So there's ways that you can guarantee affordability over time in how you set up the sort of the deeds and the financing of those projects. And then in terms of what we define as somebody being able to afford their housing, it's that they're not paying more than 30% of their income on their housing costs. That includes rent or their mortgage if they're a homeowner.
And if I'm going to go with your 30% figure, I don't think we're doing a really great job of that.
Yeah.
When I moved here from the Pacific Northwest in Seattle years ago, Seattle had a very robust program with developers up there who, if they were going to build let's say a 50-unit apartment complex, they had to set aside 5%, 10% that were always going to be deed restricted or rent restricted. Are you having any success across the valley with programs like that? And if that's something we should be looking at, is putting into our CUPs and other programs when developers are bringing as opposed to building an entire complex of affordable housing, which is what some of these 800 units that you're talking about are, as opposed to that, if somebody were to come in and build a market rate apartment complex, duplex complex, something like that, is that a route you would recommend?
Yeah, so what you're referring to is known as inclusionary zoning, and right now, City of Palm Springs is working on an ordinance to get that implemented in their city. And then the City of Coachella has an inclusionary zoning ordinance in a particular area of their downtown. So developments that go in there, a certain percentage have to be designated affordable. And we definitely support that kind of ordinance being passed at the city level. And I think it's one of many ordinances that need to be passed. So I don't think that we should go away from the 100% affordable buildings and just focus on inclusionary, but I think we should have both.
Well, the inclusionary one is an interesting process too, and like you said, doing it by zoning. So for instance, we were to say zone a certain stretch of downtown for multifamily housing, and part of the zoning requirement would be to do that. What about using alternatives like our development agreements or things like that when a developer comes in? Is that another route that, are you seeing success with that?
So We haven't seen that kind of community benefit type agreement in place in cities in the Coachella Valley, as far as I'm aware, that specifically call for affordable housing as part of that development agreement. But that is something that we're also looking into, especially when it comes to larger companies like Amazon or the Cotino Disney development that's going in Rancho Mirage. If the cities are offering tax breaks, for example, to those types of developments, we think at Lift Rise that there should be some sort of pushback from the city to require a certain amount of affordable housing that comes along, especially to support the workforce that may be involved in the case of Amazon and Disney that are going to be supporting those developments and the operation. So
I'm not sure how my fellow council members feel, but that is an area that I would certainly like to explore down the road as we move towards complying with our housing element and our requirements for affordable housing. One last thing. What are your thoughts about rental restrictions, not restrictions I know, I believe it was Los Angeles, might have been, or one of the cities down there that capped, and I know Seattle's trying to do it too, capped rental rates from going up more than X% every year.
that, to my knowledge, there are no rent control measures in the Coachella Valley at present. I believe the city of Palm Springs has one that's specific to mobile home parks. I think that's important and could be useful, but I think we also really need to focus on the supply issue of really just building more designated affordable units. And I think what you're kind of getting at is what we believe is that there are a bunch of different tools available to us and cities to address this issue, and they can not all, but many can be employed at once. And one of the things that we're hoping to work with all the cities in the Coachella Valley after doing this sort of action plan launch tour where we're letting you know what we're up to is to really zoom in at each city and work with city staff and the city council to understand what are the ordinances that would work in your specific city, because the dynamics in Desert Hot Springs may be different than in Coachella. So yeah, we're hoping to re-engage with you all over the coming months to figure out what some of these, and support you to figure out what some of these ordinances could be passed at the local level to move these goals forward.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to working with you guys on that as it comes down the road, and hopefully, we can explore as a council some of the zoning and development agreement types of programs to guarantee a certain number of affordable units. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I believe the county has rent control in mobile home parks also. Ms. Pai?
He's not in.
You are in next.
You have a plan, and you're going to come back to us with what the plan is. I got that. But I have a question. I talked to you outside a moment ago, and you didn't talk about financial information, because a lot of people don't know how to get affordable housing, and they think they can't get it, and there's ways of getting it. So if you could explain.
Of course. Yeah, so also I forgot to mention earlier that you can access the full plan on lifttorise.org, and it goes into much more detail within each of those strategy areas that we talked about of the key actions that we're going to be working on together. And I believe we gave some sheets to the city clerk to share with you all. They have some QR codes which you can view the full plan on our website. What you're asking about, Mayor Pro Tem Pai, is things like credit literacy or credit improvement workshops, financial literacy, homeownership education type programs and workshops. Those are things that we're already working on, with mostly led by our resident engagement team, and I would say would fall under the movement building and policy advocacy strategy areas identified in the plan. So that goes into sort of how we communicate out to the public what tools are available, what resources are available. So as you're saying, folks aren't missing out on opportunities for homeownership just because they don't have the knowledge about it. So that's definitely part of our plan. You could see it on our website, the details about the workshops that we have planned, and we're happy to share with the city the workshops that we have scheduled moving forward.
And you're planning to have some of those workshops here at our library?
Correct. And actually, the workshops that we're having at the library are our Committees by Cities initiative, which is under our resident engagement team. We're working on building a network of civically active residents in each city in the Coachella Valley. And the initiative really started in Desert Hot Springs, and that's our largest group right now. About 15 to 20 folks, and we meet at the Desert Hot Springs Library. And then we're also working to schedule a credit counseling workshop with the City of Desert Hot Springs actively right now.
Okay, and thank you. And I and Eric attend your meetings regularly.
Yeah, and we very much appreciate it.
Mr. Betts?
So I guess it's obvious that there's a need for affordable housing. I see it growing, and I see with the economic climate, that's coming, it's probably going to grow more. I don't know if it's a good part or a bad part of this position on a council member, but people come to you when they got problems and with their housing situation. And lately, over the past couple of years, I've been getting people calling me saying, hey, I've been told I've got to get out. And, the landlord has given them all the proper notice. And I said, we were taking a little bit too long to go and find other housing. He says, no, I've been looking for months. And I'm thinking of one lady, Connie, and her daughter were living in a house. And they were paying $950 a month, very affordable for them. And the house was being bought. And they asked if they could stay there. I said, no, it's going to become a vacation rental. And I know at least 3 instances where vacation rentals have consumed affordable housing. And like Connie went through, I ended up finding a group home for her. It wasn't an ideal living situation, it's better to be in a house, but at least it was a very good organization providing that. I hate to think that everybody's only option is end up in sharing a house with 6 other people, because there's nothing else decent out there. You and I had a conversation, and I really appreciate the phone call that we had on this specific subject. There's a lot of other factors that are impacting the cost of housing and what's affordable and what's not in all the different income categories. The California Building Code is adding heaps to the cost of houses. The city's fees, I'm talking about raising those all the time. There's probably a proposal coming to the council to raise them again still further. The cost of home ownership going up. Desert Valley Builders Association, I think has a number at $35,000 of a cost to build a house. It's just government fees before a shovel's ever turned. We've got to do something to fix this. So, in your presentation, you were talking about, 1,200 homes, but here in our city, we got 300 of those homes are vacation rentals that have, depleted the supply. I don't want to repeat too much, but, Malcolm and his taking care of his 95-year-old grandmother, really important subject there. Seniors, whether they've made good life decisions or not, some of them are just dependent on Social Security, and they're not getting by. And we could certainly do something in that area. And I would love to see that done. In fact, they're probably the easiest population. You get the most bang for your buck in getting seniors into housing. But there's no programs out there. Every time I call and try and find funding for that, it's not there. So I'd really encourage Lift to Rise to go and try and expand funding, lobby to expand funding for senior housing. There's a lot of aging people now who are going to find themselves, especially with this inflation going on, having a hard time making ends meet. We've got people down at the senior center, basically their only meal is what they're getting there. So we really need to work on that. I really appreciate the salience that your organization's bringing to this. I wish that we talked and your organization seemed reluctant to advocate that cities stop advocating for vacation rentals. I think, you hear people talking about, putting people over profits, and I think we really need to put people over City Hall taxes. Not everything is about taxes into this big ivory tower that's called City Hall. We have our work to do as a council to try and fix that. And so there's a lot of factors out there that's causing this. It's not just building new houses, but any plan to collect more TOT on vacation rentals as a way to fund the amount is not going to happen. The amount of damage being done out there in the community by all sorts of reasons, corporate buying. of homes. It's just, everything is just, it's just a big problem. Anyhow, the last takeaway I got, I said it already, is I really appreciate your organization, this whole conversation tonight, the salience that you're bringing to this issue, and your push is really, really important. So thanks for being here in this presentation. Unless I see something else on all this scribble I had while I was listening, I'll just let it go. Ian and Jessica, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember
Mr.
Betts.
Nunez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great presentation. Thank you once again for spending the time with us tonight. I had the same questions I had was Councilmember Gary Gardner asked, and I thank you for answering those questions. You know, Desert Hot Springs is very unique than the rest of the Coachella Valley. Once, you know, on one end we're a city of disproportionalities, and where you have other cities that, you know, they fund other cities. They can make three cities over and over and over. And some of those cities don't want to do anything about affordable housing. Here we're very unique, where we have a lot of property owners, but they're vacant. You know, they have 3 houses here and they live in off the coast and the beach somewhere. So we have to try to work with them to see what we can do. But, you know, unfortunately where we're at right now is you have a lot of greed out there. We got to find the balance as a council, and I think I can echo Councilmember Gardner's is coming together as a council to look and see what we can do with developers and development and new housing and apartments, and maybe this is a topic, another topic we can have during a study session and over the summer if we can. There's always going to be a need. We can never do enough, and long as I'm available, I would be an advocate for. I've always been an advocate for affordable housing, and I continue will be. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Pai?
I would like to move recommendation 1 through 3, receive and file, support the goals and initiatives outlined in the action plan, and direct staff to collaborate with Lift to Rise and other community partners.
I'll second.
So a motion will be made by Ms. Pai, seconded by Mr. Nunez. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for spending your evening with us.
Can we take a break, please?
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 8:45 or 7:45. All right, we reopen the meeting. We're going to go to the consent calendar. 2 items were pulled from the consent calendar. Item number 6 is the cooperative agreement with the County of Riverside to provide fire protection, fire prevention, rescue, fire marshal, and medical emergency services, and with a fuel use agreement. Do you want a full report, or is there a specific question you have? Abbreviated report, Mr. Buckner.
An abbreviated staff report on where we're looking at, you know, the impacts of this financially. Do you have a per capita cost breakdown? That's always been the measure. Whenever I talk to council members comparing fire coverage, it's always seems to be a per capita cost comparison. I'd just like to know if you have that and where we are from prior years compared to this year now.
Sorry. So this cooperative agreement is for a 5-year agreement. It includes some increases. It includes additional staffing. We're going to start wrapping up the staffing for Station 98. We are, for the coming fiscal year, the cost will be over $3.6 million. In 25-26, the cost will go up to over almost $4.1 million for the rest of the for the rest of the contract. The reason why next fiscal year is going to be lower, it includes a one-time reduction in retirement rates for CAL FIRE. As a per capita in the past, so we've, for over the past 5 years, so fiscal year 19, the city paid out $1.4 million with a population of 29,000. The per capita was $48.06. In 2020, the city paid out $1.5 million, a population of 32,510. We have per capita of $47.40. 2021, the city paid out $1.3 million with a population of 32,716. So we have per capita of 41.92. 2022, the city paid out almost 1.7 million, estimated population of 33,091 with a per capita of $51.15. And fiscal year 23, the city paid out over $1.9 million with a population of 33,387, a per capita of 507. If we are looking at for 24-25, based on the 3.6 million in the contract and a population base of 33,387, our per capita would actually increase to $110, over $110. But that would also include an extra fire station, including with those costs and the additional staffing at that.
So the extra fire department station that we need and are celebrating didn't come free. It's got a cost to it. So that's responsible for that. Okay, I really appreciate that. You know, I ask a simple question and I get such a great detailed answer out of you. Great. You got all this just rattling around in your head or what? But that's what I needed, Mr. Mayor.
I have a lot rattling in my head, but I do prepare and get numbers written down.
Good. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And that was all I had on that one, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any public comments on this item? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we do the cooperative agreement with the County of Riverside to provide fire service.
Turn your mic, please.
I'll second.
Your mic was off. It's fine. It's motioned by Mr. Gardner, seconded by Mr. Betts. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Move to item number 9, which is the approval of the side letter agreement to the MOU with the Desert Hot Springs Police Officers Association. Ms. Pye already made some comments. Mr. Betts wanted it pulled. Again, abbreviated report by
Let me see. Hold on a second.
Mr. Lucchino, or just a question?
Well, so I just, this is a big deal for the public. That we've really rely on our police officers. They do fantastic work for us, and budget's always a concern. So I just wanted to get a presentation here. We had previously offered the POA a 5% increase in this year. Is that correct?
That is correct, in the upcoming budget year, yes.
But because of other expenses that were incurring in the city and looking at the budget, we went back to them with a reopener, and they agreed to a 2.5% increase instead of a 5%. Is that correct?
Correct, with adding an additional year to it. So that was the give and take.
Okay, so we had an additional year. What were we planning to do I see here in 2025, it says a 6% increase. Is that what we were planning before?
It was 7.5 that year.
Okay, and then in 2026, we're at 5.5%. And what will we talk, that's the additional year, right? Okay, I just think it's really important for the public to have this information and not just be buried in a consent calendar. I remember Jenny Fote in Palm Springs always saying, these significant details are not for consent. So, Mr. Mayor, sorry for indulging you on that, but that's the information I wanted to get out into the public so everybody's aware of what our costs are around here. Thank you.
Do we have anybody in the public like to make any comments on this? I do have somebody coming forward.
Our police department started 1996. I had the privilege with a number of other people to be on the Blue Ribbon Committee to recommend the start of our police department. And I just want to do a little reminder here. The man who did the most to start our police department here in Desert Hot Springs was Mr. Bob Wilburn, who was our city manager at the time, and he has since passed to his rest. But my recollection is we worked hard to get it started. The funding for the police department did not pass in the polls. We had a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks, and I'm glad to see we don't have that going on today. Our police department is very much supported by the public, and it has passed the initiative process. And I'm proud of our Desert Hot Springs Police Department. It's one of the finest in the valley. And we have a lot of dedicated, hardworking officers. Although I'm friends more with the retired ones now than the active ones. It's a well thought of organization. And I cannot say enough kudos for our police department. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Close public comments, Ms. Pye?
I move we approve recommendations 1 and 2, approve the side letter agreement and approve the side letter agreement to the MOU and authorize the city manager to execute the side letter agreement.
Second.
Move it on the screen, let you second it on the screen. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Before we adjourn the meeting, I'd just like to talk about the upcoming meeting dates. The Planning Commission will meet on June 11th, which is next Tuesday. The Public Safety Commission will meet a week from this Thursday at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. And the June 18th City Council meeting and regular City Council meeting is canceled at this moment. We'll meet again the first Tuesday in July. Enjoy the rest of the month. We are adjourned.